Hi, I'm Kelly from Kelly J Jewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this pendant. It's a small, lightweight pendant that I would say is suitable for a man. I've put a list in the description below of everything you'll need to make this. Also there's links to how to oxidise your piece. There's a link to my website shop where I sell all my PDF tutorials. So check it out if you'd like to see my other tutorials that I sell. And thanks for watching. I hope you've all subscribed, and thanks to everybody who has. To make this pendant you'll need 0.8mm wire, that's 20 gauge, and I've cut 3 lengths at 11 inches each, that's 28 centimetres. And you'll need 0.315mm weaving wire, that's 28 gauge, and you'll need about 350 centimetres. I've wound mine onto a bobbin. These are really handy to use. These are Bobeeze by Beadsmith. Tools you'll need: pliers, round nose pliers, wire cutters. If you don't have wire straighteners, don't worry, nylon pliers. You can just use your fingers to straighten the wire. And you'll need something like a slim pen or a thin knitting needle just to shape the bail later on. All of my tools are Tronex, and I've put links below. They're affiliate links. If you're thinking of buying the tools that I use, if you buy through those links, I may get a small percentage from those links. So we're going to start weaving 4.5 inches from the beginning of your wire. That's 11 centimetres. So we're going to start. Take your weaving wire and wrap around the bottom wire, and we're going to wrap 5 times. And then go over the bottom 2 wires, then go up between the bottom 2 wires, over the top 2 wires, underneath the bottom wire, over the bottom 2 wires, and then we're going to wrap 5 times around that bottom wire again. So that's our repeat. Done 20 repeats of that weave. Keep compressing your weave together as you go, and it may slide along the wires, so keep checking to make sure that you're still about 4.5 inches from the beginning of the wires, and you may need to just slide it along a bit back into place. I like to press my weave down when I'm happy with it. So that's 20 repeats. So now we're going to shape the weave. And you want to shape it, you want to do it as central as possible. And we're going to gently bend the weave around. Trying to get it as even as we can. And if you do it gently and you do it slowly, you're not going to put any big shapes in there that we can't fix. So you kind of want that shape. I'm going to cut that weaving wire. So you want it to meet at the top like that. And then we're going to bend the two out to be straight, so they meet at the top. So now we're going to work just on the middle two wires. So I'm going to bend the outer two just out the way on both sides. I'm just going to shape these so they sit slightly apart at the top. It makes it a bit easier. So my wire is attached to this side. I'm going to pull it under this side. We don't want to pull them too tight together because then we'll never fit the weaving wire in between. So you want a tiny gap in the middle. So we're going to go around the bottom wire once like that, and then we'll go over and around the top wire, and then over the top, under the bottom wire, and that's our repeat. Just don't want my wires to come too close together there. So we go around the bottom wire, over and around the top wire. So you go over the top and come up through the middle, over the top and under the bottom wire. So we're just going to keep repeating that for a little while and keep pushing your weave together as you go. So I've done about 2 centimetres of that weave. So now you need to take something nice and slim, like a slim pen or an old paintbrush, and we're going to bend this weave over the front of the pendant, getting it nice and central. I'm going to bend it over to the front, and I'm pushing it back a little bit, holding it at the top so it bends back a little bit rather than it being straight. So keeping it nice and central, like that. And take the next wire. We need that to come straight up the back, and the one on the other side that's nearest to the centre. We need them to do the same angle as the middle weave because we're going to follow the weave. So put it back in place. And we're going to bend these 2 wires, holding the brush or whatever it is you're using right close to the top. I'm going to bend those 2 wires over to follow. And then we're going to take them all. Don't want to get the weaving wire in there. And just bend them all a little bit out so that it sits flatter. I'm going to push the brush back a bit. So that's what we've got so far. So turning your pendant sideways, we're now going to work over all 4 wires. Bring the weaving wire down behind all of the wires. We're going to wrap around those bottom 2 wires. And we'll do that twice, but on the second wrap we'll come up between the 2 wires. So now we'll wrap around the middle 2 wires once and come up between. And go straight over the top and wrap around the top 2 wires. We'll go around those twice. Then come up between the bottom 2 wires and we'll go around the middle 2 wires once. What we're doing now is we're just pinning all of the wires together, just tying them all together. So you could use any weave you want just to go across them all once. Bring the wire up underneath the wires. Go around those wires twice and we'll do the same again. Come up between those bottom 2 wires, over and around the middle 2. We'll come up between those 2 as well. Over the top, around the top 2 wires twice. Come up between the bottom 2 wires. My wires really do keep moving around. So we go around the middle wires once, and we're there in that position. I'm going to pull it away a little bit just so I can get my nylon pliers in there to flatten it out. And now what we're going to do is just ignore the outer 2 wires for a little bit, and we're going to carry on with our weave just down those middle 2 wires, the weave that we did before. So we're going to go around the bottom of the middle 2 wires, over and around the top wire. So we've gone over the top and up through the middle 2, straight over that top of the middle 2, under the bottom of the middle 2, and then we'll repeat that. So it's the weave we were doing earlier, the little weave over the 2 wires, do a few repeats of that. So I've repeated that weave for about 1 centimetre. So now we're going to join them together again. So take the wire underneath the bottom wire, and now we're going to work over all 4 wires. We go around the bottom 2. Try not to pull them together too much. And we'll go around them again, come up between the bottom 2. So we're just going around that second wire. Over the 3rd wire and up between those 2 wires, the middle 2 wires, over the top. We go around the top 2 wires, go around those top 2 wires twice, and keep pushing your weave together as you go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to shape the wires. Sorry about that. So we want them to come out nicely in a nice curve like that, and the middle 2 to follow. So our next repeat is going to be come over the bottom 2 wires and around those 2 wires, and go around those 2 wires again. Then we go between those 2 wires and we wrap around that top middle wire another 2 times. So we've got 2 wraps around both wires and 3 wraps around the middle wire. Then we go over to the other side and straight over the top of the wires. And go around both wires again. Then we go over just the middle wire. We do 3 wraps around that. So that's our repeat. So now we come over onto the other side and go around both the wires and let your wire slide down to be in place. Then we go around that again. Then we go over that middle wire to put 3 wraps onto that. Over to the other side, straight over both wires, and over again, and around that middle wire 3 times. And we're going to keep repeating that for another 2 repeats. So now we're going to leave the outer wires alone and just continue wrapping on the 2 inner wires. And you really must keep pushing your weave together, compressing your weave as you go. Keeps it nice and tidy. So just going over the middle wires now. Go around this one. So we go over that middle wire and we wrap around. We'll go around 5 times. we go over the top middle wire like 5 times. We've nearly reached the edge now, another couple of repeats. So keep pushing your weave together, and as soon as the weaving wire sits level across the bottom of the pendant, we've done enough. That's how far we want it to go. So my weaves on the actual wire have come past the bottom of the pendant, but this in the middle here reaches the bottom, because we're going to wrap it to the back and we want it to cover this weave. That's the idea anyway. So when you're happy you've done enough, we can cut that weaving wire now. So that's what we've got so far. So now moving up to these top 2 wires, we want this wire to go directly down. We're going to bend it right at the base there. I'm going to curl the whole wire because we don't want any bends, any sharp bends in it. Post it straight through and then pull it right the way down and in. And pulling it nice and flat, if I can only find one. I don't want it to push this over, I want it to be next to it. Like that. I'm going to do the same with the other side. With it being a men's pendant, we're going to do more lines rather than curls. So again, I'm going to pull that quite firm because I want it quite flat. And then I'm going to go around again. Letting it sit away from it a little at the top. So we get that kind of shape like that. Do the same on the other side. So fiddly to do this behind the camera. So when you're happy with the shape of those 2 at the top, we're going to cut them quite short and just flatten them down. So now going back down to these wires at the bottom, I'm going to gently bend them over the bottom of the pendant, so make sure it's all straight and it hasn't moved or anything. You want it all nice and square. And then when you're happy with the position of it, bend the wires over the bottom of the pendant like that. You want to curve these wires around because we're going to post them back through onto their own sides. So holding it down at the bottom where the wires went over the bottom of the pendant so I don't ruin the shape. Pulling the wires back up and around the weave. And I want them to come straight out the side, so facing across. I'm going to do the same for this side. So we want to curve the wires, post them back underneath, so they go around the weave, and then hold it at the bottom there so you don't ruin the shape of it, and gently ease the wires around. I'm using dead soft copper. Earlier I tried making this pendant with some power wire and I found it to be a bit too hard to do these kinds of bends that we're about to do in the wire. So if you're using power wire, you might want to do something a bit different at this point. I'm just going to bend these wires around and then fold them back in on both sides like I did on this one here. I'm going to bend them around and post them back in, but I made this one with power wire, so that was a real wrestle to do that because the wire's a little bit harder, and this is soft copper, so it should be much easier. I think the silver filled is a lot softer as well than the power wire. Straighten those wires a little. I normally do all this straightening of wires and things off the camera, but I really think that I should show you what I'm doing. Just straightening these wires a bit so I can get my next shape nice and tidy. So when you're happy with the position of the wires, holding this down, I'm going to bend them around. Now when you bend them around, you need to make sure that they don't cross over each other. You've got to keep them next to each other, and that's the shape that we want. So holding it in place, so I haven't bent this bit, I'm just bending the end. I'm going to post it back through, and this is the fiddly bit because we've got that middle bar to stop us. And post it back through the middle. This is why it was so fiddly with the power wire. It will misshape it a little. So now we need to gently feed that around to get that shape that we had before. Like that shape. And then hold the shape and then bend the wire back. So we need to do that with this side as well, and you want it to mirror that side, so you'll try and get it as similar as possible going the other way. So I've done the same pattern on the other side, and now take the bottom wire and holding it all flat, bend it over the front of the piece, and we're going to cut this piece off and curl it at the top there. So on this side, taking the bottom wire, hold this down because it'll lift, push it straight over, curl it around, that. I'm going to finish these off, and these ones that we haven't bent, we're going to do what we did with the other ones, cut them so they sit just before the edge, and this one, and then flatten that down, squeezing it in place. So now with these last two wires, I'm going to cut it quite short and then curl the wires around in opposite directions. With my round nose pliers, this one's going to curl this way, and this one is going to curl the other way. I always like to press the curls down when I've finished them. And there we have it, a little lightweight men's pendant. And I'm going to oxidise this because I think it'll really, the bottom will stay all dark there and it'll bring out the detail on this better. So I'm going to oxidise it and I'll come back and show it to you. I've actually done a slight variation of this pendant. It's a little bit different, the wires come down from the top rather than up from the bottom, and I've added more curls just to show you how much difference it makes when you oxidise a piece. It really brings out all those dark tones. If you want to know how to oxidise your piece, if you're not quite sure, I have done a simple video on it. I'll put a link in the description below. And there we have it, finished. A lightweight men's pendant. And I hope you found this tutorial easy to follow. And if you have any questions, please comment below. I do love that oxidised look. That's the other similar variation that I did. You can do almost anything you like with these. You could even put a bead here at the bottom, or you could elaborate and do a bigger bail, or you could pull these wires apart so your bail sits a little bit more wider. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I really appreciate all your support, and thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.